Hey friends, it's Mike. It's Tuesday. It's August 10th, 2021. I got to check the date. It's around 7:30 in the morning. I've had one cup of coffee. So if I look tired, it's because it's 7:30 in the morning and only one cup of coffee. And why am I doing this early in the morning? I don't know. I was reorganizing a folder I have on the Beatles on my hard drive, and I came across this clip. It's a quote live performance of the lads playing in 1965, and the song is I Feel Fine. And as I was watching it, and I don't know what made me watch it, I was going through it and bingo. About a minute in, the main riff is playing after the break, and neither John nor George is playing the riff. And it's the same thing that happened in a video I did a number of months ago where I pointed this out, where the riff is playing, but they're not playing it uh, at Budokan back in 1966. And in that case, the two songs were Paperback Writer and Day Tripper. Okay, so it's one of these situations where the song is playing, like the main riff is playing, but they're not playing it at a certain point. Uh, and what happens is they play catch up. And so this is another one that I've caught. Now, before I get into the clip, I want to explain how this was done, and some sources have stepped forward and explained this to me. One source said that what took place back in the day was studio musicians were playing offstage and backstage. So they were actually playing the song. So that's what was coming through during the concert. And bands like the Beatles, because it wasn't just the Beatles where this was done, they were miming to the song. So they were actually maybe strumming their guitars and stuff like that and making an attempt to be where they need to be on the fretboard to make it look like they were playing, but it's not them that you're hearing. What you're hearing is the guys backstage who are plugged in. And that's why we have these glitches where sometimes the guys on stage miss the cue and then they've got to play catch up. This is what happened with Day Tripper in Budokan. We can see the first maybe 4 or 5 measures, 6 measures. George and John are not doing anything. The song is playing, and then George catches up. In fact, I will read an email that I received. This comes from a person who's been in the business a very long time, and they were talking about the Budokan footage, and they said that they looked at it and they said George nor John are playing the lead guitar bits at all. But I do not think it's a track. It's probably a session musician behind the scenes. And then he explained that his guitar skills were used often back in the day, similar to how these studio musicians were used, to deputize for pretty faces who are not up to par as musicians across various recordings by famous artists. So I am in agreement with your theory on Budokan. And then they went on to say that God only knows what else is lurking in the background. And then they said this points the way to examine other concert footage such as Shea Stadium, Seattle, etc. Okay, so that's a person that has done this type of work. And so when they examined Budokan, they saw what I saw and what many of you saw as well, because many musicians commented on that particular video. So I'm sure, I'm hoping that the person who wrote this email to me will check this out and give me their thoughts. The other way this was done was playing to backing tracks. And this information came to me by somebody who is a professional sound engineer that does this type of work for a living. And he explained to me that this still goes on today, where backing tracks are created. They're created in the studio, and then they are inserted into concerts. They said to me that if the guys playing are really, really good, top shelf musicians, then a backing track may not be used. Although they said that a backing track, in most cases, will be there as a backup, just in case something happens or something doesn't go right or whatever. The backing track can be dialed in by the person who is doing the sound work, the sound engineer. You see those guys during concerts working the boards? So he was explaining to me that, it's an art, how they kind of do this thing, phase it in, phase it out, page it in, page it out type of thing. But he was saying back in the day, along with studio musicians playing, that backing tracks were created. And with the Beatles and other bands, what they did most of the time was if it was a backing track or if a studio musician or musicians, plural, were playing backstage, the singing was live, but the music was not, or the music was being played by somebody backstage. When I say the music was not live, it means it was a backing track. And what I've noticed with the Beatles stuff is that the lead vocals many times seem live to me. The harmonies sometimes seem live to me, and other times they sound like they're pre-recorded, and the Beatles are essentially doing karaoke, you know. Uh, and I know this is kind of difficult for a lot of people to get their heads wrapped around, but what I'm saying is that the illusion of not just the Beatles, but the whole music industry in general and how it's presented um, is an illusion. Another example of where the Beatles in a video where we are led to believe that they're playing live, but it wasn't live, is the video for Revolution. So what we're hearing is the actual, I believe, the actual track, the recorded track that ended up on the album, and we hear the Beatles singing live. And even if you look at the Revolution clip, I can't put it up because Apple will file a copyright claim and it'll just block it worldwide. So maybe I'll put the link down below. If you watch that clip closely and don't look at them, look at their hands, look at like George, how he's playing, look at how John's playing and Billy's playing. But in particular, look at George because George had a tendency sometimes to get a little lazy. And even in the Revolution clip, you can see his guitar part is being played, but the way he's strumming, it doesn't sync up. Okay? So, anyway, more, like I said, more illusionary stuff, more trickery, more deception. And I want to reiterate this is not just the Beatles. Okay? This was going on and still goes on to this day. In fact, a number of years ago, I went to go see Foreigner, and it was their 40th anniversary tour. And aside from finding out when I got there that not one original member was there, I was actually watching a tribute band, I picked up within the second or third song that they were playing to a backing track and they were lip syncing. And the way I was able to pick up on it was they had these, those big screens at the concert, and the venue wasn't large, right? So there wasn't any delay. And I was watching and I thought, okay, well, the lips are a little off there. And then there was a guitar part that was played and they panned in on the guitar player's hands. And I noticed, okay, well, you know what? He didn't play what I just heard out of the speakers. And the thing was, I was with somebody else at that concert and they picked up on the exact same thing. I didn't have to say a word. We looked at each other and they said to me, are they lip syncing? I said, you know what? They are. And even though we paid pretty good money for those tickets, I got to around the fourth or fifth song and I couldn't deal with it anymore. Lip syncing, I paid that kind of money to watch a tribute band lip sync. So they were playing to a backing track. Okay? All right, so I don't want to make this longer than I need to. Here's the clip from I Feel Fine, 1965. You guys take a look at it, take a listen, and let me know what you think. The comment section is open. Thanks a lot. Okay, one last thing. I forgot to mention this. One of my sources, who is the sound engineer and has been in the business for a very long time, explained to me that the sound quality that we're hearing from these Beatle clips from their concerts wasn't possible because of the technology that was available back in the day, and the technology that they had were 2-track recorders. So I was told that the clarity of the instruments, the separation, the differentiation of the instruments, for example, we can hear George's guitar very clearly, the lead guitar playing, John's guitar playing, whether it be as acoustic or as electric, Paul's bass playing, and Ringo's drumming. All of this was enhanced post-production. So what that means is that what you're hearing on these clips is not necessarily what you heard during the concert. And of course, we wouldn't know any better because who remembers a concert from 1965 or 1964 or 1966? I mean, you might have been there, but 50 years later, what's your real recollection of what it actually sounded like? In fact, there are some videos out there where somebody snuck in a video camera who was in the audience, and they filmed the recording, and the sound just sounds like just a blare of sound. I mean, it's not clear, it's not precise, right? So, well, okay, so where did this articulation of the sound come from? And again, it was explained to me that it was enhanced post-production. So they had the video footage, and maybe the Beatles were playing to a backing track. So I'm just surmising here, and they took that backing track and they synced it up, and so now you've got this really nice sounding audio that goes along with this footage. And if they were playing along to studio musicians, a live performance backstage or offstage, then it's possible that they were able to somehow record that playing, whoever was playing, and then they were able to bring it together and create an audio track that sounded very good. Okay, so you have to just remember, you're in these big concert halls, stadiums, and to play in those arenas and to get that type of sound quality is very, very difficult. The other thing that I've noticed, my own observation, is that with these clips, I either see no microphone setup. In other words, there's no microphone in front of the amp to record George, record John, or record Paul. Or if there is a microphone there, the microphone does not appear to be positioned properly. And that means that the capture of the sound is compromised. You're not going to get that articulation or that clarity. For example, a typical setup for a drummer playing live might be an overhead microphone, a mic for the snare, and a microphone for the kick drum or the bass drum. And when we watch these clips, many times we don't see a microphone. We might see an overhead mic, but that overhead microphone is not enough to capture the entire drum kit. So that's something that I've noticed and something that, to me, seems off. Okay, so I just want to leave you with that because that's something that was told to me. The net of it is that with a lot of these clips where we hear this very decent, very good sound quality, that in all likelihood, there was post-production enhancement to those clips to improve the audio. Okay, that's it. That's now the end of the video. Comment section is open. You guys take care, and we'll talk soon.